Another way you can be under pressure is once you come out of the exam hall and you hear your colleagues discussing the exam, saying that what was the answer for number 1, that real estate exam, or the wills and estate exam. What did you pick in number 5? Was it A or B? And then maybe you picked D, right? And then they're saying, oh, number 2 was definitely B, number 3, oh, absolutely C, and then my answer was A, and I'm like, oh my god, I think I failed the exam. Oh my god, I think I failed. And that was how I felt, right? Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask Moe. I have missed you guys, and I'm back to bring you updates about the Ontario Bar Exams and about the NCA Exams. If you're watching my video for the first time, my name is Mo, and I'm a lawyer licensed to practice law in the province of Ontario and also in Nigeria. I create content to help internationally trained lawyers navigate the process of getting licensed to practice law in Canada. I also create content for graduate students and also for people who are looking to immigrate and settle down in Canada. Please note that whatever I say in this video is not legal advice. If this is the type of content you like to consume, kindly subscribe and let's make Ask Moe bigger. Also, do not forget to turn on the notification bell so that you will know when I upload a new video. Also, like, share, comment, and do all that good stuff. Thank you. If you are yet to download your copy of the NCA Starter Pack for only 10 USD, I will leave the link in the description box so that you can do so. NCA Starter Pack contains a comprehensive breakdown of the procedures and the first steps an internationally trained lawyer will need to take before getting licensed to practice law in Canada. In that ebook, I talk about immigration and requalification. I also talk about universities in Canada that offer scholarships for LLM program. I talk about how your NCA resume should be written, and I talk about so many other things. I had recorded some videos for the Ontario Bar Exam series pre-COVID, but then I held back on releasing those videos because a lot has changed. The Law Society has released new rules about the Ontario Bar Exams. That is why I'm doing this video, to keep you guys updated, and also to let you know that during the Ontario Bar Exam series, I will be referring to the way things were done last year, which was pre-COVID. So you guys are not confused when you hear me say that I wrote the bar exams for 7 hours, or I had to travel all the way to Toronto to write my exams. So you guys are not confused. The Law Society of Ontario and the NCA have released new rules about how the examinations will be conducted going forward, and I will be sharing those rules with you. And honestly, I'm so excited to see that LSO and NCA have evolved with technology. Before I go into some of these changes, I would like to explain to you how the Law Society of Ontario administered their bar exams pre-COVID. Ontario bar exams could only be written in March, June, and in November, and they had very limited exam centers. You could only write the exams in Toronto or in Ottawa, and they only had centers in London, Windsor, and Thunder Bay in the summer. For the purpose of this video, we're just going to call the Ontario Bar Exams OBE and the Law Society of Ontario LSO. The OBE has 2 modules, and I talk more about this in the OBE series, so you guys should watch out for that. We have the barrister exam and we have the solicitor exam. Like I said, I will go into more details when I start the OBE series. Each exam lasted for 7 hours, and we wrote the first part for 3.5 hours. We took a break for about 2 hours, and we came back to write the second part for 3.5 hours. So let me just explain to you guys how a typical barrister exam would have been written. So if it wasn't in the summer, I had to travel all the way to Toronto to write the exam. I had to get there, let's say around 7:30, because we had to sign in, we had to queue, we had to do some registration, make sure our names were on the forms, and we had to be seated in the examination hall at 8:30 a.m. in order to get instructions for the exam. Once it was 9 a.m. we started the examination, and we ended the first part around 12:30 p.m. Of course, you were allowed to take washroom breaks. Once the first part ended around 12:30 p.m. we're allowed to take a break, and because the exam was being written in Toronto, we had a lot of people in the examination hall. So once we were done, to sign out was a hassle, even to sign in as well was a hassle, because we had a lot of people. We came in around 2 p.m. we had to be seated at 2 p.m. and waited for the instructions, and we started writing the second part of the exam around 2:30 p.m. and we ended the exam at 6 p.m. We had to come back for the second half of the exam at 2 p.m. We sat down and waited for examination instructions, and we started the exam at 2:30 p.m. and we ended the examination at 6 p.m. Now, this was done all in one day. After that, we had to wait for 2 weeks, go back home, do whatever, and come back in 2 weeks, and we repeated the same cycle for the solicitor exam. Like I said, I will go into details and explain each module of the exam when I start the Ontario Bar Exam series. LSO has started an online delivery of the licensing examination. For those of you who don't know, people who registered to write the barrister exam in March were able to write it, and like I said, you had to wait 2 weeks. But because COVID happened, they were unable to write the solicitor exam after 2 weeks. And now that the LSO has started an online delivery of the examination, priority was given to those people who were supposed to write the solicitor exam in March. Now you have the luxury of writing the examination in your home. So far you have a desktop or a computer, you are good. The March solicitor exam is currently ongoing. People have already started writing the exam, and it's still 7 hours in length, but the way the exam is being written has now changed. Instead of writing the exam for 7 hours, candidates can now break 7 hours into 3.5 hours, and they can write it in 2 days within a 5-day test window. Isn't that amazing? So let me just explain what that means. Now, let's say I'm registered to write the solicitor exam. I have a 5-day test window. I can choose to write the first part of the exam, that is 3.5 hours, in 1 day, and write the second part of the exam, another 3.5 hours, in another day. So instead of me writing the exam for 7 hours in 1 day, I can split the barrister exam into 2 days. Honestly, I think this is the next best thing since sliced bread. This news is amazing, because writing the exam for 7 hours was really mentally draining. I swear, after I wrote the exams, after I was done at 6 p.m, I was done for the entire year, because I was so stressed mentally. So imagine dividing the exam up into 2 days now. That is just amazing. For candidates who will be writing the exam during the 2020-2021 cycle, things are a bit different. The exams have been reduced from 7 hours to 4 hours, and they still have a 5-day test window. And also the questions have been reduced from 240 multiple choice questions to 160 multiple choice questions. The LSO is stepping up, reducing the questions, reducing the length of the exam, giving you the luxury to write the exam from your home. The LSO is really coming through. You should note that some of the rules still remain the same. For example, you cannot wear a hat, a scarf, a watch. When we had to go in physically to write the exam, we could not bring in smelly food or loud food into the exam hall. For example, you could not bring in a carrot, because if you're chewing a carrot, that's really loud. You're going to distract the other person or people around you. You couldn't bring in smelly food such as fish. They had all those rules, but now I'm sure you can eat smelly food in your house and chew as loud as you want in your house, and nobody's going to be bothered by your chewing. That is just fantastic. I will advise you to take time to study the new rules on the Law Society of Ontario's website. I will leave the link to the website in the description box. I have a friend who wrote the exam in person in March and also did the online examination this week, right? And I reached out to her just to talk to her about it. Like, girl, how was it? Was it different? Did you like the online examination more? You need to tell me all about it. And she said she really liked it. She felt very comfortable in her home, obviously. She said the software was easy to use. The proctor wasn't disturbing her. She didn't have to, she looked for the answer and then shade with a pencil, because in our time, when we had to physically go in to write the exam, we had to shade the answer with a pencil, and that also took out of your time. But now you no longer have to do that. You no longer have to queue and wait for your turn. You no longer have to stand up to register. It's just so much easier. And she felt like the fact that the 7-hour exam was split into 2, that gave her enough time to rest, and recoup, and also get her thoughts together. So she said she preferred the online version of the exam. So I have reached out to her to do a video for us, because not a lot of people have written the bar exams online. So I reached out to her to do a video to tell us all about it, compare and contrast, let us know how different it was. It will be nice to hear from someone who has had the experience of writing it in person and also writing, the online examination. And we will also be doing an IG live session where she will compare the 2 methods of writing the examination, and she will let us know which one is better from her experience experience. Honestly, I think this is the best thing that has been invented since sliced bread, and I will tell you why, right? I'm going to give you a few reasons why I think writing the exam online is a fantastic idea. The first reason is transportation. I remember I had to budget about 1,000 Canadian dollars on transportation just for my bar exams. I live in London, Ontario, and we didn't have any centers in the fall and in the winter for the bar exam, so I had to travel all the way to Toronto to write my exams. I think I had to budget, maybe $60 for Greyhound, about $100 for the train. I had to call an Uber from my house to the train or the bus station. I had to call an Uber from the bus station to my friend's house. I had to call an Uber from my friend's house to the exam hall, and it was all the way in Mississauga, so it was very expensive. I think it cost me about $40 just to go to the exam, and another $40 to come back from the exam hall to my friend's house. I had to call another Uber from my friend's house to the train station, call another Uber from the train station to my house. It was very expensive, and I had to do this 4 times. So I wrote the bar exams 4 times. I wrote the barrister exam twice, and I wrote the solicitor exam twice, and I'm going to talk all about this in the Ontario bar exam series, so make sure you watch out for this. And I also share some tips about how I was able to bounce back after failing the bar exam. Writing the bar exams online definitely saves you a lot of cost. Another reason why I like this idea is because it saves you from unnecessary pressure. I think it was my solicitor exam. I got there a little bit late. I wasn't exactly late, but just a little bit. So when I got there, it was time for me to register, and I was told I couldn't take my codes in, and I had to go back to return my codes, which meant I had to sign in again. And then once I was done, I came back, my materials fell down, the bag in which I had my materials in tore, and I was just really clumsy because they were about to close the exam hall. I went in, I was under so much pressure. Another way you can be under pressure is once you come out of the exam hall and you hear your colleagues discussing the exam, saying that what was the answer for number 1, that real estate exam, or the wills and estate exam. What did you pick in number 5? Was it A or B? And then maybe you picked D, right? And then they're saying, oh, number 2 was definitely B, number 3, oh, absolutely C, and then my answer was A, and I'm like, oh my god, I think I failed the exam. Oh my god, I think I failed. And that was how I felt, right? But if you're writing the exam at home, you don't have any pressure. Nobody is discussing any exams with you. You're not feeling any pressure of like coming in late or having to gather your materials or being sent back. I also remember I brought in Coke, like Coke the drink, yeah, that one. And I wasn't allowed to bring it in. I was told to go throw it out or something, and that also took out of my time. Once you're in your house, you don't have to worry about any of these things. Another reason why I think this is a fantastic idea is because instead of writing the exam for 7 hours, you now have the option of splitting the exam into 2 days, right? Writing the exam for 7 hours has a way of taking a toll on you mentally. I remember when I was done with the exam the 3rd time, I was exhausted. I was done because I had to travel to Toronto on Monday night after work. I got to Toronto late at night. I took Tuesday off, obviously, because of the exam. I went to the exam hall in the morning. After the exam, I ran all the way to the bus station. I almost missed my bus. I hopped on the train. I didn't get to London, Ontario until 12 a.m. and I had to work the next day. I was tired, I was exhausted. But now you don't have to go through all that stress anymore. I swear, like, the Law Society is coming through. I'm so excited about this new development. Another reason why I like this online method is because you can eat whatever you want to eat. Before, you couldn't eat smelly food, you couldn't chew loudly, you couldn't bring Coke into the examination hall, but now you can drink Coke all through the day. You can eat fish, you can chew as loud as you want to. You don't have to use earplugs. I remember I had to use earplugs because sometimes maybe someone is coughing or they have to make an announcement or something. You are not going to be distracted. You are all alone in the comfort of your house writing this exam. So I think that is another good thing. And the best part about this is that you can write the exam from anywhere in the world. You can be in India, you can be in Nigeria, you can be in the US, you can be in the UK, anywhere, and you can always write the Ontario bar exam. That is fantastic, right? You no longer have to worry about having to travel to Toronto or Ottawa to write the exam. For me, this is the best part about this online delivery of the exam. The fact that you can write the exam from anywhere in the world. I love it. I'm here for this. Now, some things still remain the same, and I would like to point that out. Candidates will still be allowed to take washroom breaks, and the substantive part of the exam still remains the same, in the sense that it will be similar to the exam that we wrote in person, just that it will now be taken on the computer. The materials still remain the same, and the exam will continue to be a multiple choice open book exam. The videos I recorded pre-COVID in the Ontario Bar Exam series are still very relevant. In that series, I share tips on how to study effectively for the Ontario Bar Exam. I share what to do if you have failed the Ontario Bar Exam or any other bar exam. I share, tips that helped me bounce back, and I'm sure it will still be relevant. I also share the cost of the bar exams, which are also still very relevant because that has not changed. The only thing that has changed is the delivery of the examination. So please make sure you have this in mind while you're watching those videos. Now let's move to the update about the NCA exams. The NCA just announced that it will schedule an online delivery of its examination for the August examination, which means that you can literally write your NCA exams from anywhere in the world. I'm telling you that COVID is indeed a blessing, and I'm very excited about all these changes. The fact that you can literally be in any country of the world and write your examination. While we are all rejoicing about this amazing news about being able to write the examinations online, do not forget that you still have to immigrate to Canada to article and to eventually work in Canada once you get called to the bar. And who knows, things might also return back to the way it was, which was writing the examination in person. So do not forget to examine your immigration options while you are writing the exams online. And I talk about all of this in my ebook called NCA Starter Pack. I will also leave the link to the LSO website so you can read up on all of these changes. They're very comprehensive. I couldn't cover everything in this video, but I will leave the link so you can read up and study the rules. Do not forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Make sure you also share this video. You never know who this video can help. Make sure you like, and make sure you turn on the notification bell so that you know when I upload new videos. Thank you so much for watching this video, and see you in my next episode of Ask Moe.